Welcome to the Mentor Matters podcast, where we talk about leadership, life, and the transformative power of mentoring. I'm Solveig Brown, and today I am thrilled to have Dr. Renee McLaughlin as my guest as we celebrate Pride Month. We will discuss the current environment for LGBTQ plus equity and inclusion. We'll talk about the challenges that LGBTQ plus people face in the workplace, and Dr. McLaughlin will offer some best practices that companies can implement to be more inclusive. Dr. McLaughlin will also share ways that people can be a stronger ally at a time when allyship is needed more than ever. Before we dig in, I'd like to give you some background information for Dr. McLaughlin. Dr. Renee McLaughlin is the National Medical Executive Value-Based Relationships at Cigna. She leads a team of clinicians who develop, implement, and manage Cigna's fee-for-value strategy in both primary care ACO models and specialty care. She is an expert in population health management, including program design and performance delivery. Dr. McLaughlin is passionate about building diverse and inclusive workplaces and serving diverse customer segments. She serves in a leadership role in Cigna's LGBTQ plus diversity organization and supports Cigna's clients on transgender issues. Prior to joining Cigna in 2005, Dr. McLaughlin was a practicing general and vascular surgeon in a single specialty practice. She earned a BS at Adrian College, an MS at Wayne State University, and completed her graduate and postgraduate medical and surgical training at the University of Pittsburgh, graduating with honors. She served as a major in the United States Army during the first Gulf War. Dr. McLaughlin currently lives in Michigan. Welcome, Dr. McLaughlin. I am so happy to have you as a guest today.
Thank you. It's such a pleasure to be here, and you're the first person today that's been thrilled to talk with me. So
Oh,
I'm
good.
yeah,
Well, I'm
um,
glad I have that honor.
yeah.
Dr. McLaughlin, can you talk about the current state of LGBTQ plus equity and inclusion in the U.S.?
I sure can. And what one more I think relevant biographical item. I'm transgender, so when I speak of these issues, I'm speaking from multiple perspectives, from the perspective of a healthcare provider, as a physician who cares for diverse people, as a health plan executive who thinks about healthcare delivery across populations, and then as an individual human being who these issues impact me personally. So just want to set that stage for the audience. So, I may not know what I'm talking about all the time, but that does, maybe it's a little bit relevant. So what's the state of the state, you ask? And I think that's really the answer is Dickinsonian. It's the best of times and maybe not the best of times. And it all depends on your perspective. Times are better than they ever have to be an out LGBT person, certainly in my lifetime. We have our challenges today, but they are as good as it has been. And I point to some, I think, revealing statistics on that. So the Gallup organization has been surveying the American population since 1996 on their attitudes towards same-sex marriage. And if you plot over time the percent of Americans who support same-sex marriage, it has been a steady increase over time, and we're now at 71% of the adult American population that supports LGBTQ or gay marriage. So that's the bright side. The other side of that is where the transgender and non-binary communities are today. So we're all part of the same LGBTQ plus umbrella, but we experience, you know, society differently. And so for trans and binary people, things are a bit challenging, you might say. So in 2024, and my gosh, it's still in the middle of second quarter, there have been 515 bills, anti-LGBTQ bills, almost all of those anti-trans bills in state legislatures. Of those, 35 have been enacted into law. So that's a huge political cloud that hangs over the trans population. On top of that, 38% of Americans, as according to a Pew Research Center survey last June, so just a year ago, 38% of Americans believe we have gone too far in accepting transgender people. So more than 1 in 3 think we are too accepting. So different perspectives there. But if you take the long view, I would describe what we're going through now as growing pains, and I don't mean to trivialize the negative experiences that many of my people have experienced, that I've experienced myself. But they say it's the darkest before the dawn. So that's kind of where the state of the state is. But yeah, optimistic in the long run. But we can talk about that later.
Yeah, thank you for that overview. The statistics are pretty sobering, but I also appreciate the context that, we're in this storming phase of this. So that is a good, and I appreciate your multiple perspectives that you bring to this. Cigna recently earned its 11th consecutive perfect score for LGBTQ plus workplace inclusion. What does the Cigna Group do to create that inclusive environment? That is so impressive to have 11 consecutive perfect scores.
Yeah, I'm incredibly proud of that, and I'm not responsible for it, so I can be proud of it and not not be self-serving. It's a journey. If you say we've been had a perfect score on the HRC Corporate Equality Index for 11 years, it means 12 years ago we didn't have a perfect score. So we haven't always been perfect. So it has been a journey. On a broader scale, I really do applaud the folks at the Human Rights Campaign who have very thoughtfully, but also fearlessly pushed the employer community to be inclusive, to be, embracing of LGBTQ people. Every year the survey bar gets higher. So the survey that we complete in 2023, 2024 is a very different survey than it was in 1998. So what do we do? So we as a company, we are a service-oriented company. We serve over 100 million people, human beings around the globe with various products and services, about 18 million, which we have very deep relationships through our healthcare products. And that group of people, those 18 million, those 100 million, they look like the rest of the world, like the whole beautiful palette of the world. And that includes a lot of LGBTQ people. And I think getting back to the Corporate Equality Index, we take that very seriously. And every year we very purposefully evaluate the questions, and ask ourselves truly, where are we on this journey? And where are the gaps? And how do we keep raising the bar? And in turn, that translates to how we serve our customers as well. So it's an iterative process. It's understanding that we as employees are part of the same fabric that our customers are from, and we treat everyone the way we all want to be treated. And there's no secret sauce, but it's a culture. And it starts from the top down and the bottom up.
Yeah, thank you for sharing that perspective of that customer first and then treat ourselves the same way. And I like to how you broadened it out to show that your customer base is just a representation of the United States population. And so that when you talk about it like that, it becomes really significant. So I appreciate that you keep checking for gaps, that you don't just rest on your laurels of we've won 10 years in a row. That's great. So I like that you're continuing to challenge yourselves to keep doing what you're doing.
Yeah, that pays dividends much more broadly. So as we raise the bar, as we're more successful in creating a diverse, inclusive environment, our clients, employers often look to us and say, help us on that journey. How can we emulate what you do and create that same culture? So it's contagious. So organizations that succeed share their knowledge and experience with others, and that's just good business.
That is good business. Absolutely. Absolutely. Can you talk about some of the challenges that LGBTQ people face in the workplace?
I call it just the background friction of of being an LGBTQ person. The friction of always, being the only one in the room, not having colleagues like you, not having role models within our organizations. And I think that applies both to sexual orientation based identities as well as gender identity based identities. So to look up your organization and see people who you look to emulate, who also share your own identity, is challenging. In the trans space, there are an increasing number of notable folks, celebrities, activists, artists, actors, actresses. Not all of us aspire to that industry. I aspire to excellence in the healthcare and business world, and it's difficult to look up and find role models. So that's a challenge. And then I think the obvious one that is increasingly burdensome is just the daily drumbeat of anti-trans, anti-LGBTQ legislation. There isn't it doesn't seem like there's a day that goes by anymore that there's not another bill being introduced that mischaracterizes and demeans and and ostracizes trans people. And it's human nature to internalize that. It sticks to you. It, over time that just kind of collects on you and wears you down. And some days you can look past it and it's like, yeah, so be it. Other days you feel the weight of the world on you. And I think those are big challenges, more specific to the workplace, because that's what you asked. For me, I'll be fully transparent. There's always the nagging question of where might my career be if I wasn't an out trans woman? And you never know. To be perfectly clear, my company has been amazingly wonderful to me. My career has grown. I've been with the company for 19 years. I transitioned midway through my career about 10 years ago, and I'm here 10 years later. But you just have to wonder, and I think it's human nature. And so there's always that nagging thought. There's, so I would not be one that says being an out trans person is a career enhancer. Would not put that out there. Is it a career detractor? I don't know. I do know that those from minorities, disadvantaged and unaccepted minorities have to try harder. You have to work harder to be in the same place. And for all the women listeners out there, y'all know that, right? You 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 have to be paddling like the duck under the water just to stay even with everyone else. And that's, compounded by our other identities.
Yeah, and how would you say that you've personally navigated these challenges? Because you've really laid out kind of the exhaustion of kind of the backdrop of everything going on, in the political sphere. So how do you do it?
I made a commitment to myself on day one that my approach to people, to life, to problem solving was not going to change. Just because I present differently, that people see me differently is not going to change how I approach life. So the same forthrightness, transparency, directness in communication, I've maintained that. So you knew me this way before, you know me now. Now I will admit that when you put, the behaviors that go along with success, often in a male body, when you put those in a female body, they're often interpreted differently. But you work through that. And I think it's being true to yourself, not compromising your own identity, your own view of self-worth, sense of self-worth, and and drive for success and commitment that you always had, and don't take second best because you're a trans person
Right.
or a lesbian person. Don't
Yeah.
accept less than you would if your sexual orientation or gender identity wasn't in play.
Hmm. So, what would be your advice to someone navigating these challenges? Because I'm glad you talked about that because as you give us such a good insider perspective of what that's like, of people may not think of all the things you're navigating and the biases that you are subject to. So, and it sounds like you've been incredibly strong and had a very strong mental attitude of like I am authentically who I am. So, what is your advice to other people navigating this?
I'll start with find and or build your safe spaces first. We all need a place to retreat to when times get tough. So have your community that cares about you, for who you are, not who they think you are. So always great to have critical to have a fallback position that you can recharge and go forward from. Find allies, and you'll find allies. You'll know who they are very early, if you're on a coming out journey. Talk to people who have been there. Talk to people who are, you know, maybe not even within your organization, but people that you are just, aware of. I people 2 conferences ago. So I was speaking on a business related topic, and I got chased down after I spoke by an audience member who wanted to talk about, how do we support their trans people in their organization. So find the people, leverage them, to I would be amiss if I didn't talk about mentorship. To have a mentor who has walked a similar path, and it doesn't have to be identical. Maybe sometimes it's best if it's not. But someone who has been in a similar challenging environment where their identity was part of the issue, and talk and listen and have that person challenge you and push you to think about things differently. I can't speak highly enough about mentorship. And then, as I said before, speak with the voice that you want to speak with. Have people hear you as you want to be heard. Don't change your message because you think people want to hear a different message. The only person that matters in your messaging is you and the person that's receiving it.
Right. One of the things you just talked about was the importance of allies and having allies. And I believe that many people would like to be a stronger ally and they're just not sure how to do that. So can you offer suggestions on what someone can do to be a better ally in the workplace?
I can. Before I do that, I want to offer one more point on navigating the workplace. And that is to approach life with a sense of grace. Give other
Mm,
people space to adapt. When I think about my own journey, it took most of a lifetime to understand and then accept and then embrace who I am. I can't, in good conscience, expect someone else to get it like that. It's it's a journey. So give people a little space. When I'm misgendered, if I think it was just, a pure accident, unintentional, yeah, grant them some grace. But they also need to learn and adapt as well. But give people the space they need to adapt. Now on to allyship. First of all, what is an ally? And in my mind, an ally is someone that will join you in the fight. Not it's not a it's not a spectator, it's not a fan, not an audience member. And what differentiates an ally from a fan or a spectator or an audience member or a cheerleader is they're willing to get their hands dirty. So if you don't think that you're going to be able to raise your voice when you hear, the water cooler talk. Do we still have water coolers? I don't think we have water coolers anymore. that where you hear someone make a disparaging mark about your gay colleague or your lesbian colleague, you know, maybe you just want to smile and nod and then go complain afterwards. That doesn't change behavior. You've got to speak up. That's what an ally does. Say, no, you know what? I think you're wrong, and I think consider this. So how do you do that? So that's the what. How about the how? And as I've been asked this question many times, and I'm so glad that I am because it's on people's mind. I've really boiled it down to what I call the three L's. So number one, let go. Let go of your preconceived notions, your conceptions and or misconceptions. So free your mind, clean the slate, and then learn. So learn what the challenges are, and then lean in. So yeah, three L's. Let go, learn, and lean in.
I love that. Let go, learn, lean in.
Mm-hmm.
Dr. McLaughlin, we have time for one final question. What is your hope for the future of LGBTQ plus equity and inclusion in the workplace?
Yeah. It's the same as it is for the future of LGBTQ people in the broader society. And that is that there comes a day when an individual's sexual orientation or gender identity is viewed as just a part of the broad spectrum and broad fabric of humanity. That when we to to use the symbolism of the tribe, when we look at a rainbow in the sky, you don't look at the rainbow in the sky after a rain shower and say, wow, that looks great, except why is that purple color in the rainbow? It's just supposed to be there. It is not a rainbow without it. So that's what I aspire to for us as a country, us as a world in the future. And frankly, I'm optimistic. So I gave you the negative side of statistics at the start of the conversation, but there's always a flip side. So when I talked about acceptance of gay marriage, I said it's now at 71%, which is great. But what's even greater is that 89% of people under 30 believe that gay marriage is just a normal thing that we should embrace. So, as always, the future is with the young. And on the topic of the young, our next generation, when we talk about the people, the percent of individuals who think the world is too accepting of trans people, when you look at that same under 30 demographic, 43% think we're not accepting enough. So there's your hope for the future. And as it is for every generation, it lies with the next generation.
That is a beautiful vision for the future, and I am glad to hear the optimism that the young, things are changing, that we are moving in that direction. So, Dr. McLaughlin, I can't thank you enough for being my guest today. You have given us a deeper understanding of, what the workplace environment is like from an LGBTQ plus perspective. You've highlighted the challenges of being the only person in the room, of not having representation in senior leadership, of having, people not always being comfortable or knowing what to say, or that you need to give people grace and space frequently over and over. So thank you so much. And congratulations again to Cigna for its 11th consecutive perfect score. Thank you all for listening to this episode of the Mentium Matters podcast. We have many great episodes lined up for you, and we look forward to having